Hello, people. Hello, 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 hello. So, it's good to be back. I'm still your girl, Han Mac. Welcome to the Total Woman podcast today. So, you remember where we rounded up our last talk, we rounded up on how I met my husband and how I almost missed it because I was still not as prepared as I thought I should be, right? So, I think one of the things that is profound for me now is that usually the best things for you don't come in the packages you love, or don't come in the packages that look as appealing as it is to you. Yes. So I began to understand that the more I loved myself, the more God helped me to heal. I began to love and appreciate who I was, which made me more lovable and more open to love, right? So, but before then, I think I took a 1 year sabbatical. I think that's, yeah, a 1 year sabbatical. And I thought to just work on myself to make sure that I am fine and all my thoughts are in one place, making sure that I'm not still hurting, making sure that I'm just working on me, because I realized that the more I worked on me, the better version of myself was coming out. And I felt that that was the version I wanted whoever I was going to eventually be with to do that. So to live with, basically. So I felt that I was not yet at the place where I felt it would have been wonderful for me to be dating somebody at that point. So it was easier for me to work on me. In that process, I remember one of those profound moments for me was I have always believed that the man that God was going to give me, the one that God was eventually going to give me if I followed this pattern that he's doing, it doesn't look like it was going to be very attractive. I love tall guys. I love guys with hair. I love guys that take their time to, just fix up everything that is fixable. I love styled hair. Basically, I'm just more of the very fashion forward person and all of that. So there are things I was looking for. And the tall was amazing for me because I loved heels. I was always in heels. I just loved standing above. So it's like I couldn't do short guys because I didn't want any situation whereby I was taller than the man I was going to date. I was okay with him being dark. I was not sure. I was not too keen on fair guys. Tried it, didn't really pan out well. So I didn't like light skinned dudes. I preferred dark guys with darker tones and all of that. So put together, I realized those were the things I was going for. And as I was in that journey of discovering me, understanding me, and trying to figure out how to be a better version of me, I realized that in the long run, those were not the values that will keep a marriage. If at all, I really wanted to explore the relationship of marriage. Before then, there was also the acute fear of marriage because of the level at which marriages were failing. And I felt that you'll see a lady with so much potential. Suddenly she gets married and say, do you know her before she got married? And I was wondering, this marriage must be a very bad thing because it looks like people who go into it and they're shine dolls. And it's the same thing. You meet a guy before he got married was very hot, then suddenly the thing he marries and then you begin to look for that guy before he married, or you're looking for that girl before she married, and you can't seem to find the person anywhere because it's like it comes with its own. So I just didn't want that, and I saw the death of dreams, the death of visions in the eyes of people that were very close to me. I saw there was this underachievement it was like this marriage thing was, the whole thing was one sacrifice after the other, one sacrifice after the other, one sacrifice to the point whereby you're completely lost. So there are things that I was looking for. So, and I think there was a type of man I was looking for in that moment that I felt, no, it's not just any man will not do for me. There were some things I was looking for, but I realized that the only reason that I began to understand that there were certain characteristics and traits that I needed to look out for far beyond the beauty, the pocket, and all of that. I was not too big on the money because I felt I could make my own money any day, anytime. I could wake up and just make my own money. So I believe that it's not the man that has the monopoly of making money, generating income for the family. So that was not really much of a problem for me. But it was the mindset, it was the growth mindset, it was the accountability, it was the ability to handle emotional stress, it was this capability, the structure that you have developed around. There were a lot of things that I was looking for in a man, and I needed a man who was secure in himself because I was never going to dull my shine. I needed a man who was confident in who he was, that whether I was or I wasn't was not going to affect anything in his life. I needed somebody that I could look up to. I needed somebody who would talk to me even in my loudmouthedness, highly opinionated state of a point of view. Do you understand? I needed somebody who could look at me and just tell me, God, see how you've missed it. and just point it out direct. I needed somebody who was so secure in himself. There were certain things I was looking for, and I began to see those things for what they were. And I was looking for, okay, it was no longer about this person's marriage is not encouraging, I'm afraid. This person's marriage is not encouraging, I'm afraid. It started changing to becoming things. Okay, why do examine this particular relationship and explore it to see why it actually failed? Why is it okay? If you were in her situation, what would you have done better? What can you bring to the table? What can you add? What value do you add in the man's life to make sure that he is confident to be who he is? How do you help him to be that version of the man? Because I came to understand that marriage itself was a place where we cultivate each other. That I am the direct mirror. My husband should look at me and see what he is, where he is at now, and where he is going to. I should be able to look at him, and he should be that grounding factor for me. So in days where I am not getting it right, all I need to do is look at him and have a talk with him, and he is able to set me straight, and that I should be able to do that. So for everything I was looking for in a man, I wanted to first be it. Right. So, and then the spiritual aspect, the whole concept of the fact that I wanted to make sure that God was involved. Oluwa is involved in all the process. I should not miss it. So I decided to take misguided though, but that was what happened. I decided to take a 21-day fast. I took a 21-day fast, and we got on the process and all of that. But guess what? Even after the 21-day fast, and I had a witness in my spirit that he was the one I was to go with. Honestly, I still didn't like it. I genuinely would have lost it. Do you know why? After all that process of working on myself and thinking that I had made progress, I had made process and all that, I realized something. I was still somehow on the inside pining for that tall guy with hair. And my husband happened to be short with a bald head. So it was so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. So I couldn't go beyond the exterior. I was struggling to go beyond the exterior. But then before he even asked me out, or we were interacting and we became very good friends, guess what? He would call me, we will talk. So for everything that I felt I needed to become, I had already become it, but except that those superficial things, that little girl in me who was still pining for those things couldn't look beyond the bald head. Do you understand? I wanted a guy with hair. I wanted a guy who would coil it. And guess what? You know what? The fact was that he was all of that. Okay, definitely not tall before he became short, of course. But he was all styled up and all jazzed up, all of that, until somehow, I have a feeling that part of it was because of my desire that somehow he became bald. Do you understand? Because the guy was, if you see his older pictures, you could see hair all styled up and jazzed up and all that. Only just that just before we started, somehow the hairline started receding. It started receding. And I was looking at him. He'll call me and tell me. So basically, we'll get interacting. At the moment, calls me and tells me, so you know what? You know, I really want to marry you, right? And I'll be like, you see, I will just be having a nice conversation. Then you just spoil it. And he never really came asking me to date him. He just simply felt I was his. And it was the guts for me. It was the entitlement for me. It was as if he felt he owned me. And there was really nothing I could say about it because I was made for him. That was annoying, intriguing, exciting, appalling, all at the same time. So it was the confidence for me. It was the gods for me. So even when I had direction, that spiritual direction, of course, I don't do nothing without spiritual direction. So even when I had spiritual direction, that yeah, I think this is the kind of man you're looking for, and all of what you're looking for is obtainable in this man. I just simply, my vanity almost made me lose that because it did not come in the package that I wanted. Right? It did not come. So this guy was intelligent. He could keep up a conversation. He was not stuck on whether what you wore got him distracted. That, you know, those people that weren't talking to them and then they're like, oh, you'll be having deep conversations about the politics, and he's looking at you, say, God, you're beautiful. And you're wondering, all right, oh, thanks. So about the political scenario of the country, and he goes, I was like, really, your lips are beautiful. So I don't know how to come out from that kind of, I usually don't know how to respond to that. So as I'm talking now, obviously you can understand that I'm a practical kind of girl. which means that I was not too into the whole beauty and its processes. I was more into the practicality of this is me, this is what you get. Yeah. So, well, there was also the kind of cool. My dad raised us up in the fact every day he tell you beauty is vain. Add value to yourself. Beauty of a woman fades. What do you have to offer apart from your beauty? What do you have to offer apart from your physique? Add value to yourself. Add value to yourself. So when all of that has been drummed to you, I think I almost moved existing, not necessarily thinking I was really beautiful. So when people are looking at me, it was more or less, it's like, what are they really looking at? It's not something that I took too much stock in it and all of that. So when you come, it makes me feel as if you're really vain. Really vain. Then the more I'm talking and you're all struck or whatever it is that is going on in your little head, the only thing that's on my mind is like, I hope this guy is smart. I hope this guy is intelligent. I hope he can carry a conversation. The things that are going on in my mind are very different. So what I was looking for was different. But then here was this guy, and he was cute too. Don't worry, you get to meet my husband very soon. He's actually very cute. He was cute, and he could carry on a conversation. There was absolutely no topic. I remember I was in my final year in the university, and we were reading with him. And went to the library to read. We were preparing for exams. He was in his final year. I was in my final year. He was in her final year medical school. I was in final year computer science, University of Jos. And we were talking. I was reading, and I got stuck in a particular problem. Do you know that literally he stopped reading? He collected my book and looked. And he said, but he thinks this is what is this. He looked at it and said, I should give him a minute. He went through my handout and taught me, so that I can go. Do you understand? So it was not somebody that you can't say IQ was low. No, he had it going for him. You cannot say that the ability to carry on a conversation, because he was very well read. Very well read. Confident in himself. In fact, the problem I had with my husband was overconfidence. It was not the lack of confidence. It was the overconfidence. So, beautiful. So I got interacting with him just because I felt led. And when you're doing this God thing newly, you're feeling the pressure on you is that if you don't follow the God way, you could be doomed. So I didn't really feel, and I was so scared of marriage that I felt that I couldn't do marriage on my own. And I know that intellect was not enough. And I understood that because I've seen intelligent people marry and just not make it work. So I knew that wits was not enough. So I needed something more divine. Right? So going further, I just kept going at that, and we're having conversations. We could just take up a topic like finances and start discussing finances and ironing it that to the nitty gritty. So how you're going somewhere, and he's just encouraged, just pushing you out there to go. You can do it. I'm not sure. There are very few things that I feel my husband believes that I cannot do in life. I think the confidence he has in me is more than the one I have in myself. And I'm a very confident person. So when all of that, then I was wondering how I was reducing all of these wonderful traits that I felt were the workings of a very good relationship and workings of a good future marriage, that I was willing to dump it down to the fact that he was short because I needed to wear heels. And anytime I wear heels, he'll be like, come down so that you can hug me. He's unashamed. He's short and I don't even know how to explain it. When I say next, you'll see him next episode. This is just a precursor to the conversation, right? So we got talking and all of that, and somehow I was still stuck on the whole concept of hair, still stuck on the whole concept of height, still stuck on and he was a student. So obviously it couldn't be that it was money. He was a student and I was a student. So putting it all together, I understood something, that one of the things that as a girl growing up and wanting to choose a life partner, one of the things that you need to overcome is your vanity. Grow out of being a child. There's this scripture in the Bible that talks about when I was a child, I talked like a child. Well, now that I'm old, I am, this is paraphrasing, of course. So it's like there's a childishness that you're going to have to outgrow for you to be a worthy partner to anybody that you're going to be married to. And it first starts with you first. the ability to outline what you want. What are you looking for in your partner? What do you stand for? What are your core values? Do you understand? When it comes to education, what do you think? When it comes to politics, what do you think? When it comes to finances, what are your thoughts? When it comes to relationship and belief system, oh God, have mercy. I've seen people separate because of belief system. She thought this one went to church, this one went to church, and simply they assumed that because they were having one God. Their belief system is not the same thing. That's why we have different denominations. Kokin and Ekwa similar, but they still a little differences. The Pentecostal and the Orthodox. Do you understand? There's the Aladura cultural churches, and everybody has a belief system. That's why you find your tribe. That's why there's a grouping that is to make sure that you don't clash with one another's belief system, but also a maturity to know when we can agree to disagree. So if you've not grown yourself mentally, you've not grown yourself physically, you've not grown yourself. By physically, I mean, number one, working on yourself, getting to a place whereby you've understood your body weight and how it works and how you're supposed to. Do you understand? Sometimes you're on the larger side, sometimes you're on the slimmer side, sometimes you're okay. Some of us have breasts, some of us don't have, some of us have bum, some of us don't have, some of us feel the need. As far I don't have a problem with doing whatever you want to do, but I feel that it's not accepting myself for who I am and not learning to love myself, healing from every part of me that once I grew up, everybody everywhere I went to is like, she got big eyes. It was so bad that sometimes when I see that, it's now it's polite because I get to be able to do it like this sexy pose and all that. But then I remember that it's full on, man. So I'll just sit down full bright and my father will come and stand in front of me and tell me, dim your light. As if I was a car. Dim your light. So that's something I had to learn. So it's like the first thing anybody could insult me with in this life was the fact that I had bulgy eyeballs. Bulging eyeballs. And it was like, guys, so it's like at some point I had to tell myself, so basically these eyes, me self now so I see them. I didn't create it. This is how I saw it. Do you understand? And then there's really not much I can do about it. And knowing that as I'm growing older, naturally I will add a little weight at some point. And I added a lot of weight. One of the things that I was also cautioned about was I was so slim, like Oyali. I was so slim that you would not be waist. We wear things and it's just the hips that is holding it. That slim waist that I can only dream about now. I was that slim. So every time everybody says, are you eating food at all? And I'm wondering, yeah, I do. But you see, at some point, you're going to have to come to accept yourself the way you are. So if I need breast augmentation, first things first, it should be coming from the place that I just want more, but not because I feel less, because I have less breasts. If I'm doing hips, if I'm doing body reconstruction and all of that, I love me the way I am. Yeah, I would have preferred if something is bigger or more proportionate in some sizes in some parts of my body. But guess what? I learned to love me. And in loving me, I realized I became a more lovable person and a more confident person. And I think it took care of a lot of inferiority complex in a lot of dimensions. So in doing all of that, I realized that the person I was looking for was a person who has also developed himself, his mind, his body. I was looking for a man with 6 packs. My husband has 1 pack, 1 unity pack. And don't think as if he's ashamed. Every time I'll tell him, I said, so basically, I think you need to go to the gym and do that and do this and do this. You tell me, baby, you don't like this. This is all in one package. Why do I need to separate these things? And he couldn't be bothered. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be nice. Do you understand? But I also realized that that's also signs and symptoms of a person who is very comfortable in his skin and who has gotten over it. He's not. So my saying, if only you could do this, if only you could do this, does not make him any less lovable or does not make him any less likable. It's just who he is in this moment. And yeah, it would be good if he does that. It would be good that balance works. It's not healthy. But those were signs and symptoms that gave me confidence that this guy actually, he knows his onions. That's for my Nigerian listeners. But he knows his worth. For everybody else, he knows his worth, right? He has found his worth and he's oozing it in every aspect of his life, And I remember one of those days I called him. I don't know what is okpa in English? It's Bambara nuts cake, Right. So I called my husband. He lived in town then, and I was in school. And I called him then. I was like, Alpha now. I love it a lot. So I was calling him. I said, if you're coming to town, you're coming towards my house, could you buy me okpa on your way? And for those of you who still don't know, it is Barbara Nuts cake. All right. So he called me, he told me, he said, I don't have transport too. I don't have money to buy your okpa. The only money I have is my transport. I cannot come and trek simply because I'm coming to see you. I don't have plans to trek. So am I buying the okpa, then you are coming to see me, or I should buy the okpa with my transport, then you come and give me? I laughed so hard that day and I said, okay. I said, buy the okpa, come and give you your transport. Take note, this is the man that was still asking me out. I was trusting God that I will accept him and start dating him. And he couldn't be bothered. And when he arrived, he was just by my door, entered and said, take your okpa. And he asked me, where's his transport? That's the first thing he told me. Where's my transport? He said he likes to be holding his money in his hand. He doesn't want to hear stories later that we forgot, we got carried away, we're gisting, and shame will come and catch him. I should give him his 200 naira now. He wants to put it in his pocket. He wants to be feeling it on his body because that's security blanket for him. He wants to be feeling it in his pocket so that he'll not come and hear that there's something happened and there's no... Give him his money. I removed the money I gave him. And I was just watching and smiling. It's a very awkward situation. I was just smiling. The part that shocked me was as I gave him, he collected the money and he kept. He said, now he's at rest. He said, I should go and bring plates. Let's eat the okpa together. I said, oh, we're eating it together. I said before, he has not eaten breakfast. So he was planning to go and eat breakfast here. So now that I made sure that it's okpa and he likes okpa too much. I said, so are you going to bring your own cut of the money for the okpa? He said, for what now? He cannot eat my money. Let's eat okpa, Joe. And you'll be very surprised that those are some of the things that convinced me more than ever that he was the kind of person I wanted to, because he was real, he was honest, brutally honest. I can assure you that if you're looking for brutal honesty, he's my husband. He doesn't even have the energy to sugarcoat it. His truth is truth. It's simple. And those were some of the things that endeared him to my heart. And eventually, I didn't have a choice but to say yes and to start dating him. Right? As I'm talking about it, I can just imagine that people are getting very excited. So the question for you today is this: what exactly caught your attention in your partner? What convinced you beyond human doubts that yes, you wanted to be in this person's life? Just those things, those little things, those nuances, or just little things that he did that confirmed who he was to you, and then confirmed his identity in your life, which was he was going to be your partner to you. Just reach out to us and just share your story. We would love to hear from you. Feedback from you is always welcomed on our social media platforms at the Total Woman Podcast, Facebook, and on Instagram, right? Good. So that was when I made up my mind and I was like, God. And we started dating. When we started dating, all hell let loose on some very different issues. Plenty issues. Past came forward, future came backwards. Everything just merged. And I think we were hoping to date and just get married shortly. We're not hoping to take it long, even though he was still priming me up to be able to marry, because every time he comes, he will just tell you, Shay, you know I'm going to marry you. Shay, you know we're going to marry you. And I look at him and I said, can you take it one step at a time? I've tried that, we are dating. Let's take it one step at a time. Don't rush me. Don't do this, because I was not yet developed enough. My mental state had only graduated to the point where I could date him. But beyond that, I had not known anything yet beyond that. So it's like he was rushing. He said, no, it's not like he's rushing me. He just wants to keep it so that I'll be priming my mind, because he understands that my mind works backwards. When normal people are excited about marriage, of course. So before him, a lot of proposals that were rejected by me because I couldn't stand the whole idea of marriage. And by the time we met, he was concerned. What kind of lady? Usually you scam girls by saying, I want to marry you, then she'll be all yours and do everything. And then this was a girl that he was trying to get her ready so that she can be prepared at soonest future to marry. But she was just not willing. But he followed me. I think what was beautiful was that he understood where I was coming from. He understood the pasts that I was battling with. He understood the fight that was going on in my head, in my emotions, and in everything to find myself, that I was just trying to find myself at all costs. And he was willing to wait. And guess what? Oh Lord, the beautiful part was that he was not much as committed a Christian as I was, because I wanted to do that, but because I felt I wanted to do it right and I wanted to date right and I didn't want to have sex while I was dating. Guess what? He agreed. I won't fight too, but he agreed. Is it every day that I find that kind of package? It's not like I was very serious like I was. I was finding my identity in Christ. He didn't really care much about all of that. All he knew was that this was the woman he wanted, and if this was what he took, he was willing to. And in that moment, you see, there's some things, oh God have mercy. You need to meet my Eastie. Yeah. I'm actually very excited about him. Yes, and when I start thinking about all the things that we've surmounted over time, I've been married for 7 years. I think I've known him for 13. And when I think back, I couldn't be more happier with my choice. It's like one of the choices that I made that I sit with no regrets. And obviously, as I'm talking, you know that I'm a very happy woman, right? And when I say these things, it makes me feel as if there's problem. He's my slice of heaven. Doesn't mean he's without problems. Doesn't mean without issues. But you see, the growth mindset in him helps us to process these things and walk through them together, holding each other's hands and upholding each other. That my weaknesses are not used against me, but instead he becomes my strength in my weakest moments. His weaknesses are not used as a defense mechanism or as a tool to keep hammering on him, but instead I become his strength in his weakest moments. So teaching us to be able to hold our hands together. And I think for me, it was one thing that I know that people talk about it in the spiritual aspect a lot, but talking about abstinence and sex and no sex in a relationship and all that. But I think one of the things that it did for me in our relationship before we got married was that we had an uncanny knowledge of one another. We talked. We were all talked out. We can talk. Until date, one of the things that I love is that he can carry on a conversation. And I realized I was a sapiosexual, and he did that for me. You want to have my attention? Let's talk. And the more you gain respect from me when you're able to carry a conversation. When you have something to tell me apart from I feel like, no, I don't like this thing. I don't like it. Why don't you like it? No, it doesn't feel right. And I'm wondering how feelings shouldn't be something that you take too much talk to, because feelings come and go, So I need something so it is based on this. There should be a premise to why you have made this conclusion that you don't like this. This is this. This is fact. This is fact. This is fact. Based on these 3 facts, we draw the conclusion that this is this. So if I want to argue, let it be that I'm countering this fact. I'm countering. When you tell me I just don't feel like it, it's not working. I don't feel like it. I don't know how to respond to that. And he did that for me. He checked. Honestly, if I'm to be honest, he checked all my boxes except for the 6 packs, the hair, and the height. And guess what? I just realized that nowadays I wear more sneakers than I wear heels. I've not worn heels in a very long time. You understand? So I realized that God was taking care of my future, because he knew I was not going to read. This thing was just going to pass. It was a phase that was going to pass very soon. So I didn't need it. Do you understand? And so also in your comments, you're going to let us know the things that you ended up realizing that you didn't need eventually, after you thought it was very important at the beginning of a relationship, but in the relationship you realized you really didn't need it. Holla at us on our social media platforms. Don't forget. We're waiting to hear from you. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, my guy, Easter, will be here next episode. So we'll get to see each other and then we'll be able to take it up from there. What do you think? I think you would like that too. So that you hear from his own version. Let it not be just a monotonous conversation, right? You should not be just hearing from me. You get to hear from the horse's mouth. And of course, my husband's mouth is not a horse. For those of you who are literal minded, of course. Thank you for listening. Thank you for always hearing me out. See you next episode. Bye-bye.